Picking right back up, we've got A, the side A is equal to 26. To get side C, going to do something fancy. The only thing that changes for side C is the fact that you're finding side C, and instead of an angle of 81, you're going to get an angle of 34. So I'm going to plug in everything that was there, 24, sine, and instead of 81, here comes that 34. My ratio for B is still the same. So I can just leave it right there. In my side C, I'll get 15. So I've got C, I've got A, and then my other angle A was 81. Anyway, that's pretty handy. We've already got it solved down. I just need to switch out that angle because the sine B ratio, that sine 65 over 24, is the same for both of them. Handy. Alright, let's get on. So I've got another triangle. It's pretty much exactly the same, except for they're going to give you A instead of giving you B. But we're going to get on it anyway. I've got A, I've got B, and I've got C. Remember that your angles are across from the sides of the same name. B is 17. Alright, and then A side is 3. That's going to be 119, so we're looking at 61. 61 for C. Once we get through that, I'm again going to set up my law of sines, because you don't want to have to do cosine if you don't want to. I'm telling you right now. Sine 102 over 3 is equal to the sine, and for B we'll go 17 over B. I'll use the uppercase for the side, even though it's supposed to be a lowercase, but man, variables for me with letters, they just don't look good. You'll notice I'm going to execute the same process over here that I did over there. So I'm going to multiply both sides, get that cross multiplication thing going on. So I've got B times the sine of 102 is equal to 3 times the sine of 17. I'm going to divide both sides by the sine of 102. So B is equal to 3 sines of 17 over the sine of 102. And B, that side length, will be equal to 1. That's my very first one. And for C, I'm going to do the same thing that I did over here for C. Alright? I know it's going to be equal to this. Alright? It's just going to be, instead of sine 17 in B, it's going to be sine 61 in C. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to say that C is equal to 3 sine, and instead of 17, which went with B, I'm going to go with sine 61, which went with C. 102 is still going to be on the bottom because we're still going to use angle B as our starting point. So those numbers, these two numbers, will be the same, and that will give me C is equal to 2. Once you punch that out, let me check and make sure before I get... Oh, C is equal to 3. Watch your calculators on that one. Make sure you're putting in correct numbers for that. Moving along. Those decimal places can get a little rough. Solve the triangle. Now this one, gonna have to do law of cosine. I know it's not your favorite. It's not my favorite. But it is useful when you have no other options. So we go A, B, and C. Side A is 45. Side C is 43. And angle B is 88. And you're thinking to yourself, man, there's got to be some way to get around it. And sad day, there's not. We're going to have to use law of cosines. You're going to feel better once we get it done, so let's just get started. I am looking for side B. I've got everything I need to fill in law of cosine except for sine B. So here we go. Side B right here, squared, is going to be equal to A squared plus C squared. 43 squared minus 2 times A, which is 45, times C, which is 43, and then cosines of 88. I'm going to take this, drop it straight into your calculator the way it's written right here. Straight in. Don't try to square these out. Just drop it straight in the way it's written. Then you're going to take the square root of that answer. You could take the square root first. It does not matter. I think it's a little messy. Anyway, when you take and you solve it out, this is 12, you're going to get 61. It's a decimal in your calculator. I'm going to write it as 61. Keep that decimal in your calculator. So now we've got this, and we're back to this point. Alright, we need to use the law of cosines to finish it off. You don't actually, have to, a law of sine rather. You don't have to use the law of sine, but man, I would highly recommend it. So I have the sine of 88 over 61. And again, the 61 is the actual decimal from my calculator. It's going to be equal to the sine of, we'll do a first, sine of a over 45. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply that 45 to the other side. So now I have sine a is equal to 45 times sine 88 over 61. Alright, again, I'm writing it over here. This is exactly what you're going to dump into your calculator. It's going to look just like this, with the exception that I want angle A, so I'm going to rip that sign off. So angle A is equal to the inverse sine of all of this, 45 sine 88. Now remember, your parentheses in your calculator are going to look like that. That 88 is going to be have to be wrapped up, and you're going to divide it by 61. So when you do that inverse sine, you're going to have 45 sines of, and it's going to open up that parentheses on your sine. Make sure you close them on that 88. You can punch this and get an answer and use that in your calculator instead of having this all in one spot, but it's, that's your business, however you want to get it. And when you get this A value, it's going to be, this is 12, it's going to be 47 degrees. Now, your B value, angle C, the cool thing about angle C, the only thing that's changing is instead of having a side of 45 that went with A, you have a side of 43. So you already know what it's supposed to look like. The only thing that's changing is this 45 is going to change to a 43 because you're using sine C. So I've got sine inverse 43, sines of 88 divided by 61. You're going to punch that out, and you're going to get C is equal to 45. Now some of you are going to tell me, Mr. Murat, don't be stupid. You've already got two angles, just subtract them from 180. And I'm going to say, yeah, you're right, I should have done that. But that's but I didn't see it until just now, which is a sad day. But you can always go in and do it. They get the same answer because it is in fact the same triangle. Let's take a look at this one. You've got 23, 27, and 16. So they give you all three sides. Here's A, here's B, here's C. I'm going to have to go in and find an angle. And that's going to force me into the law of cosine. As always, you want to do it the easiest way possible. Law of cosine is not something you want to go into, but if you have to, in this case we have to, then it's just fine. It does not matter. I'm going to pick C. I'm going to go for angle C. So I've got 16 squared is equal to 27 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 times 27 times 23, and then it's going to be cosines of C. Now, when you do this math, we're going to subtract 27 squared over, we're going to subtract 23 squared over. I'm actually going to pull these numbers for you on my super spiffy calculator. So this, and then minus 27 squared, and then minus 23 squared. So I'm going to subtract these two numbers over to this side. That's going to give me negative 1002. And this is equal to negative 2 times 27 times 23 equal to negative 1242 cosines of C. You'll notice I've multiplied these all together. Multiplied those all together. It's still attached to cosine C. I have to divide to get it off. We're going to cut the video here. I'll come back.